Hey guys, it's Jeff Wood here. You might know me as Minolta1034. Today is another entry in my Versus Halo series. So essentially what I'm going to do in this video is if you are a player of the Halo series, if you are a fan of Halo but you haven't given Destiny a shot, or alternatively, maybe you tried Destiny out at launch and you weren't a big fan of it and so you're wondering kind of how things are going from a Halo player's perspective, that's what I want to give you in this video. So you can make a decision as to whether you want to start getting into Destiny because the new House of Wolves DLC is coming out right away. Now this video, it was tough to make, Bungie, obviously the creators of Halo and a studio that I have really strong feelings for in general, just because I love their games. And then Halo, the series, the thing that Bungie created is the thing that I've been playing for, more than a decade. So it's definitely a tough call here and it wasn't super clear cut. So I hope you guys enjoy this video and do remember that I am trying to give you guys a perspective as a Halo player. I just recently got back into Destiny. I wasn't into Destiny at launch, but I got back into it now and started playing it. And I decided that, I should make a video and let other Halo fans know that Destiny isn't too bad. Honestly, spoiler alert, it's a pretty fun game. After spending over 200 hours just trying it out, leveling up to 32, playing all the strikes and raids and missions and everything like that, it's a pretty solid game. Is it better than Halo though? That's what you're gonna have to watch to find out. So let's start things off with gameplay. Now, no surprises here. The gameplay in Destiny is phenomenal. Now, I remember back at PAX last year, I was talking to some of the Destiny developers and they were saying to me, our job is to make sure that when you go into a room and there's a box and 5 enemies, every time you go into there, you're having fun with that same box and those same 5 enemies. And that sounded neat, but at the same time, to me that said, oh, I'm gonna be playing the same room with a box and 5 guys like 70,000 times? That doesn't sound fun, but wow, it is. They did a great job. And you can tell that the majority of the emphasis on Destiny's development was put into the gameplay sandbox. I think Bungie did a really good job of nailing the speed and feel of a modern first-person shooter. Now, what do I mean by a modern first-person shooter? I mean that if you compare how Destiny feels to the Halo 5 beta, to the latest Call of Duty, to maybe Titanfall, even to Far Cry, I feel like the pacing, the movement, all of it feels crisp, fresh, and well-rounded. So they've really did a great job on that, because I find personally that sometimes when I go back to, let's say, Halo 2 Anniversary in MCC, even though I would say that it looks great, some of the animations feel a little slow, and I definitely notice the difference between Halo 2, a game from more than 10 years ago, and, Destiny, which is a modern-day game. There's the shift in first-person shooters in general is very evident when you go between one and the other. Now, that's not saying that Destiny doesn't have some gameplay problems. The physics in the game can be a little bit wonky at times, and I've definitely been killed by strange occurrences, but with a game as large as Destiny, it's hard to keep all of that in check. And for the most part, while the physics might be wonky when like a Phalanx throws me into the wall and, bursts my guts all over the pavement, even though he's only level 8 and I'm level 32, that might be frustrating, but when I take my Sparrow over like a huge jump and flip it around and do a barrel roll, that feels really great. So I'm kind of taking the sour with the sweet there. The one complaint that I would have for just the general gameplay of Destiny is that there aren't a lot of enemy types. Now, I know that this is a comparison to Halo, and it's not like Halo has a huge vast array of enemies, but the thing that Halo does have is that when there is a really scary dude or a different class of enemy, you can really tell them apart. You can tell that a hunter is a big scary dude, you know what an elite does, and if there's a special class of elite or brute or whatever, you can usually tell it just by looking at it by the model in Halo. Whereas in Destiny, you really have to aim down sights and usually see if the health bars are yellow or red in order to differentiate between a regular enemy and like an ultra or a major. To me, that just seems a little bit lazy. I wish the ultras or majors were easily recognizable, especially considering the fact that you have to run bounties and kill these guys over and over and over again. It would be a lot easier if you were running the mission and you just said, oh, there's a major, you can tell by all the huge horns on his head or something like that. So a little bit of variety in the game models would be really, really great, and just, I think, spice things up and allow players to really quickly and easily read what's going on in the game. Whereas right now, I feel like there's still a little bit of confusion as to what or who you're fighting. Speaking of the bounties in Destiny, let's talk about the grind. All right. So Destiny is a grind. I'm not denying that. Absolutely. You got to play the same missions over and over again in order to get a chance at getting some kind of item, a legendary, an exotic. That's just the way that it is. And that's pretty normal for any MMO type of game. Now, is Destiny's grind too painful or too brutal? When the game launched, hell yes, it was. Way too brutal. That's the reason that I quit. It was just insane the amount of time they expected you to put in. However, down the road, they've released the Dark Below as well as a bunch of patches, and I feel like now, if you get the DLC, mind you, some people might not like that, but if you're getting the DLC, there's a lot of content to do, and the grind doesn't feel nearly as bad, or at least it didn't for me. I did also have a friend to play with. I was going through the game with Anthrax THK, one of the ReadyUpLive staff members. Me and him had both sort of not been into Destiny and got back into it, and so having a friend to grind with, first of all, and then also just getting the DLC, so you have a lot of different stuff to do, you know, the weeklies, dailies, all that kind of stuff, allows you to kind of defeat the grind. The way that I see it is that Destiny is like a library of levels. So sure, if your library of levels is only like 5 deep, then yeah, you're going to notice when you're playing the same one over and over again. But if you've got the library of Congress of levels, you're not going to notice when you're repeating it. Now, that's not to say that the Destiny has the library of Congress's worth of content, not by a long shot. This game has no content, which is why the grind was such a problem and why you need to buy the DLC to really enjoy the game. Now, that being said, I think that the DLC is absolutely worth it. I mean, you're probably going to spend total about $100 or so to get all of Destiny with the Dark Below and the House of Wolves, but honestly, I think it's worth it. I'm probably going to put in at least 300 hours into this game, and I say that a 3-to-1 ratio, as in I'm paying about 30 cents for an hour of entertainment, I think that's worth it for me personally. Now, that is making multiple classes and doing the game over a couple of times, but like I said, I really enjoy it, and I think the gunplay keeps me coming back for more, plus being able to change things between characters, all the vault space that they've added, and all of that other stuff means that when you grind up other characters, it's not nearly as bad. I mean, it still takes 8 or 10 hours to get somebody to 20, but once you're there, then it's not quite as terrible to get some more legendary gear on them and start getting them into raids and other things like that so that they can really start leveling up and getting into the late 20s, early 30s. Overall, I did really like the gameplay in Destiny, and I think that is what kind of has you coming back for more and more and more. I like using the bad juju. I like blowing people's heads off with the Fatebringer, you know? It's a lot of fun doing that. Even though it is PvE, I still find a little bit of challenge in it, and maybe that is for people who aren't quite as hardcore and aren't as quite into the PvP experience, which I'll discuss a little bit later in this video. But in terms of the PvE, if you're a Halo player and you like doing lasso runs, if you're interested in speed running, any of that Halo campaign stuff, I think Destiny is definitely going to scratch that itch for you. So you'll be running through, turning up the challenge, being able to speed run levels, trying to find the fastest way through so that you can just get it and get the bounty done. Now, I know that sounds like you're like cheesing the game or something like that, but in my opinion, that's just another level to the game. Being able to find the fastest way through and the fastest way to farm stuff is, you know, sort of a challenge in and of itself. Obviously, you can go on the internet and there's lots of guides out there to look at, but I would encourage you to sort of find your own way if you can. Obviously, if there's something a little tough, Google is your friend, but you don't need to. I think that you can kind of run through it yourself, figure out the sections of the enemies that you have to fight, figure out the sections you don't, and kind of speed run past it. It can actually be a lot of fun. All right, let's talk about the graphics and the overall design of the game. Honestly, for me, this one is a tie. I mean, the thing is, Halo 5, the beta looked really, really solid. I still think Halo 4 is one of the best games ever made visually for the Xbox 360, hands down. That is a gorgeous game, and it only looks better when scaled up on MCC. The Team Halo 2 Anniversary remakes, not only the campaign, but also the maps, all look fantastic. But that being said, Destiny is widely regarded as one of the best looking games out right now, and it is gorgeous, especially for a console game. I mean, especially for a next-gen console game, considering it's, you know, one of the ones that was being built before the console was even released. And so I really think that this one's a tie. I mean, Halo is beautiful and really well done and really polished, and Destiny is at least equal. I gotta say, it's at least equal. And the thing that honestly might make Destiny win out here is the Halo universe is something that I'm familiar with, but I I actually really like the Destiny universe. It's a cool mix of like high fantasy elements, so I'm talking wizards, sorcerers, curses, all of that stuff that you would expect from like a Lord of the Rings style high fantasy game, but it mixes very well with the FPS elements, the way that the grenades are utilized as sort of a spell, the way that you have the super abilities to use, as well as all the different subclasses and loadouts and everything like that. It's an interesting blend of the sci-fi and fantasy genres, and one that I haven't quite felt like I've seen before. The only thing that I wish is that the game had a better story, so I felt like I was actually living in the universe instead of just grinding bounties in it. So that being said, let's talk about the story. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of the Halo canon, and there are huge swaths of the community that are just for the Halo canon. Not even just the canon in the games, but the books, the movies, the comics, the TV shows. There's so much Halo canon now, it's kind of hard to get your arms around, which was one of the big problems with Halo 4. People didn't really know what the heck was going on. This crazy Didac guy, I don't know. And that was one of the big problems that they had with the series. But if that was a problem for Halo, then it is a literal nuclear holocaust for Destiny. Destiny's story is just not there. Now, don't get me wrong, if you read a bunch of Grimoire cards online, you'll find out that the universe is actually amazing and really well written, but where's that in the game? Guys, Bungie, I love you dudes. You made one of the best stories ever in gaming with Halo, and you actually wrote an incredible one for Destiny, but it's like you got a Ferrari parked in the driveway and you're driving your Ford Taurus to work. What are you doing? I mean, I really hope that Destiny 2 has a really, really interesting way of bringing in the story, explain the Traveler, talk about the Vex. You know, why am I doing any of this? I just don't know, and I really want to. So in the story category, Halo is just gonna take it. The Halo universe is obviously very huge and expansive, and well done. And like I said, the Destiny universe could very well rival it for complexity and interest, but if it's not shown in the game, how am I supposed to rate it higher? You know what I mean? At least in the Halo games, you had a sense of the story, a sense of the Chief's mission, not even just 1 through 3, even 4, I would say. ODST, there's been countless times where Halo games have had incredible story elements, and Destiny just doesn't have that. Now, if you're a lore nerd, if you're Grim Brother 1, absolutely, you can still get into this game and read the crap out of all the lore, because it's really cool. But if you expect to find it just in the game experience yourself, or you're going to be taken on some narrative journey, I'm sorry, but that is not happening. Let's talk about another area of Destiny where things are not great. Multiplayer, PvP. Now, when Destiny was coming out, people were really excited about the PvP. I remember friends of mine talking about making Destiny teams and all of this stuff, and then the game came out and people were like, maybe not so much. Now, that's not to say that Destiny's PvP is horrible. I actually kind of enjoy it from time to time, but it's very unbalanced or inconsistent, just due to the fact that everyone has their own weapons and all that stuff. The level differences are disabled for normal PvP, so it's not like you're just getting wrecked by someone who's level 32 because you're only level 24, but at the same time, the level 32 is going to have a thorn and you're going to have some blue rare piece of crap, so you're probably not going to beat him anyway. I think that that honestly made the most sense for Bungie because, like, first of all, they want the PvP to be the other half of the game, and they want PvP and PvE to sort of feed back into each other in like a nice little loop, and I think that makes sense to me, but at the same time, the PvP could be more inconsistent, and I think that would actually make it better. In my opinion, if the PvP was actually all Iron Banner style, it would be a lot more fun. You know, obviously it would just be dominated by level 32s, but there would still be a meta that arises, and eventually, just like any other game, I mean, you would be able to get up to 32 and survive, or at least having a permanent Iron Banner playlist, I think would be fun, or at least more to the spirit of Destiny, in my opinion, than the level balanced PvP. Now, like I said, obviously Bungie wasn't going to try to take on Halo in the PvP world. I mean, I think that they might have had that discussion early on, but there's just no way that they're going to create a more compelling multiplayer experience than Halo. It's just one of the best out there. It's the reason it was one of the top games for a very long time, and it's going to be part of the reason that it grows back into success. So I don't think that Bungie was ever trying to dethrone Halo in this sense. I think personally that they were just going for a matchmaking experience that would be different, something new, something we hadn't quite seen before, which is why I kind of wish they had gone more all in with the Iron Banner stuff and make the level enhancements work, because I mean, obviously with any game, whether it's Call of Duty with prestiging or whether it's Destiny with the legendary or exotic weapons, there is going to be a top of the table, and people are going to be able to reach that before other people if you make the fact that your guns or weapons or whatever you're going to be using for offense are different or based on individual player progress. They didn't want to make an arena shooter. And they didn't. But they kind of did, which is weird, by making the level differences not matter. Like I said, I feel like the PvP just sort of sits on the fence. It's nice to see them adding Horde mode in the Trials of Osiris to try to change the PvP into like PvE into PvP and to give you more PvP options that will allow you to do stuff every week. I feel like I've said the words P, V, and E way too many times and they're starting to sound dirty. The important thing is that the PvP isn't terrible, it's just not the main selling point of the game. Halo wins, hands down, but don't think that Destiny PvP is some pile of turd crap. It's just not super great. It's not the best multiplayer ever, which Halo is. So who wins? Who lose? You decide! No, I'm just kidding. I decide. Halo wins. I don't think Destiny's a bad game. In fact, I think it's a lot of fun. I'm probably going to go play some of it right now. But I think that it needs a lot of polish. And Halo, especially with its pedigree, really has a lot of its bugs polished out. Whereas Destiny is a fresh IP, and Bungie has been doing a pretty good job about keeping things up to date. Like I said, I heard a lot from Destiny players who had been playing the game since launch, and they were really frustrated with some of the changes Bungie had to make, or some of the economy resets and everything like that. But it seems like the consensus to me is that Bungie has really started to figure it out, and they've gotten their hands around this whole MMO thing, and they're starting to really push in a direction that the whole community is looking forward to. If you haven't played Destiny since launch, I would say get a buddy and pop into it again. See if it might, bring back some of those old Halo lasso run feels if you were ever into that. If you're a diehard PvP player, probably avoid this game. It just doesn't really have what you're looking for. But if you got any love for Halo campaign, lasso, speedruns, anything like that, I would definitely check it out. It's a great game. Bungie is a great company, and they're doing really good work in order to make sure that the game meets users' expectations, or, even exceeds them, considering that the House of Wolves seems to be doing a lot of what has been asked and a few things that are new and really, really cool. So that pretty much wraps up the video, guys. Like I said, I will say that if you're a Halo player and you've been playing, nothing but MCC Team Halo 2 Anniversary, Destiny might not be for you. But if you ever had any love for speedruns or PvE content of any kind, this is a really solid game, and I would really feel bad if you didn't give it a shot, or give it a second chance if you maybe got burnt out on it back when it was a little bit harder to grind the game. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And give me a follow on the old social media if you like my videos. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the end. And tell me what you think. Tell me if you're a Destiny fan, a Halo fan, if you like both. What do you think that you'll be playing when Halo 5 comes out, if you're a fan of both series? Do you think that you're going to be mainly into the Destiny? Or do you think that you're just going to be giving it all up and, screw it, I want to see what Locke does to the Master Chief. Hunt the truth, hunt the signal. And if you're like that, then you're like me, because I'm probably not going to be playing a lot of Destiny when Halo 5 comes out. But I digress. Thanks for watching the video, guys. My name's Jeff Wood. I'll see you later.
I'm here with my favorite guest, Dan Hamill, also known as the Greenskull. And Dan, let's talk about, I want to start things off in today's episode talking about that stupid hat you're wearing.
It's all right.
Turn it around.